Good morning, everyone. My name is Crystal, and I'll be your webinar facilitator for today. I would like to welcome everyone to the VRV4X Heat Recovery Product Introduction webinar. All lines are currently on mute to prevent any background noise. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit them through the questions area of your dashboard, and they will be answered at the conclusion of the webinar. Joining us today is going to be Kaglar Oboruglu. He is our VRV Outdoor Product Manager with Daikin North America. Kaglar, you may now begin the webinar.
Thank you, Crystal. Good morning, everyone. This is Kaglar. Thanks a lot for joining us today for the VRV4X Heat Recovery Product Launch presentation. So quickly, today we'll be spending about an hour or hour and 15 minutes, something like that, about the product overview, what kind of features, benefits that 4X will include with this new product. And at the end of the webinar, we will try to do some sort of Q&A session and try to answer your questions. Okay, let's start. So, since as Daikin, the inventor of VRV technology since 1982, we've been constantly making improvements in our current VRV, VRF product lineup. And, since 1982, you see lots of different improvements throughout the years. And especially since 2014, since as Daikin we always say localization is very important for us, and it is very important to invest in localized products so we can have a more positive impact on changing the industry here in North America as well. So that's kind of become our this localization strategy has become one of the key factors for our company's success. And having Daikin Texas Technology Park here in Houston, Texas area, having dedicated VRV labs and an R&D center, a dedicated engineering team, it's really important when it comes to localization and providing better products for our customers in North America. And since 2014, especially after the acquisition of Goodman Manufacturing and building this new campus, you started seeing a lot of new localized products on the VRV side as well. And Daikin is still the only manufacturer that has a manufacturing facility for VRV, VRF products in North America. And that kind of allows us to make more adjustments in our global product portfolio. You saw, for example, VRV Aurora, we launched it in 2017, our cold climate model. This model was engineered and designed specifically for the northern regions in US and Canada as well. And you can go down to minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit and still provide a good amount of heating, which is a unique solution in the commercial HVAC market in North America. So another example could be something unique that we offer here as the VRV Live product. This also was introduced to market about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and for the first time in air conditioning industry, a VRV VRF system could be connected to a gas furnace. So you could do dual fuel configuration, heat pump heating and gas furnace heating using one single system. So also let's look at the VRV VRF market penetration in different regions of the world. And when you look at this overall market adaptation map, So these numbers are basically coming from a report that we buy from Bisiria. For those who are not familiar with Bisiria, that's an association. It stands for the Building Services Research and Information Association. It's a very well-known and respected group. They basically, release their reports about HVAC industry and construction industry on an annual basis, and it helps us to look at things from a global perspective and see what's changing and what not. And as you can see on this map, for the VRV, VRF market penetration in the commercial marketplace in Japan, you're seeing pretty high rates, about 70%. When you look at Australia, Europe, regions like that, you're still seeing 40 to 45% penetration rate, which is pretty good. Over here, when we come to North American region, for US, it's about 9%, and when you look at Canada, you're seeing a little bit higher rate, which is about 12%. So this kind of shows that North America is way behind, especially compared to other regions like Asia, Europe, Australia, countries like that. We're still quite behind when it comes to VRV, VRF penetration in the commercial marketplace. This also shows that there are a lot of opportunities for us to grow our business with our sales partners and as a company here in US and Canada. So how can we do that? It's obviously, again, localization will be a very important factor to make that happen. And even within every single region you see on this map, for additional expansion, we kind of have to look at different vertical markets within each region and see what is missing in our current product lineup. Okay, and when you look at some of the major markets here, one of the largest market by dollar spend in commercial business, multifamily vertical market. Of course, you have a lot of minimum efficiency type, split type systems there, and that's not necessarily something that we're targeting to compete against with a product like VRV, but still, like for higher tier products, you can still leverage VRV and try to get into that market, and expanding the capability of VRV with gas furnace connectivity, developing more user-friendly controllers. So Daikin One controller will be something very important to increase our success in this particular market as well. And today we will not be talking about Daikin One controller, but eventually that will be coming to becoming available for VRV integration as well at the close to the end of the year. And another important vertical market is the office market, which we have been successful to a certain extent in this region, but there's still a lot of opportunities, and we're still seeing a lot of pushback from this vertical market as well, especially shell and core, speculative office type of applications. There's still a lot of pushback, and people are still more used to using more traditional approaches such as chilled water, fan coil systems, stuff like that, and they're seeing VRV as a more complex system from system design and flexibility standpoint. So, throughout the presentation, we will be looking at these markets as well and see how we can improve our own VRV lineup and address to these challenges and kind of reduce that pushback coming from this various vertical markets in North America. Okay, so VRV4 was introduced to North America back in 2014, around that time frame, and it is still one of the best commercial air conditioning system out there. And with the features such as VRT, inverter compressors, energy with really high energy efficiency numbers. And we've been selling this product since 2014, and of course we are aware that competition is catching up with us and try to offer something better. And since again between 2014 and now, we didn't stop making any product developments, but we focus on certain different regions, such as colder climate applications, which was something really important for US and Canada. And we launched VRV Aurora, our cold climate model. So that was industry's first VRF unit or VRV unit that could go down to lower temperatures such as -22 degrees Fahrenheit and still provide a significant amount of heating. And we applied new technologies such as vapor injection compressor, adding a brace plate heat exchanger to provide vapor injection. That kind of started becoming our standard component when it comes to compressor technology in our outdoor unit. So with VRV4X, we are targeting to bring those two products kind of together and blend it and come up with something that can solve the commercial challenges that we see in this marketplace. So VRV Aurora will be still a different product lineup. The way we promote it will be different than VRV4X. So nothing is changing there. For your cold climate application, you will be still pushing VRV Aurora there. VRV4X will be becoming your standard VRV three-phase unit, which means it will be replacing VRV4 products, starting with heat recovery models with this within the next 2 months or so. Okay, let's look at the main features and benefits that VRV4X is bringing to table. So first of all, gas furnace connectivity is really important. The dual fuel system operation will be something unique that Daikin will be offering with 4X. It's basically it's industry's first three-phase VRF unit that can connect to gas furnaces here, and you will be able to connect your VRV outdoor units to Daikin communicating gas furnaces. And this will be giving you a lot of flexibility when it comes to project design. So you can choose either gas furnace, gas heating, or heat pump heating, depending on the region you are in and depending on the utility rates that you're seeing in that particular market. And because we all know that gas prices, electricity prices can be pretty volatile. And depending on the time of the year, you might want to switch between gas heat and heat pump heat, depending on your preference. So that's one thing. Excuse me. And the second thing is the phase insulation feature. We all know that, especially in high-rise type of buildings like office applications, upfront capital that you have to invest is sometimes can be significantly high when it comes to air conditioning equipment. And you could be working on a 12-story office building, maybe where you want to put the minimal equipment there, because you don't know when all the tenants will be moving into that particular building, or this could be a growing company, maybe they have a 10,000 square feet office building right now, but maybe right now just 5,000 of that 5,000 square feet of that building is occupied only. And again, you don't need to air condition the whole building in that case. So we'll be looking at how we can solve this problems in office applications and kind of give more flexibility to engineers and developers in those cases. VRT, obviously, something that you guys are already familiar with VRV4 introduction. The VRT has been offered and become a standard feature for all of our VRV algorithms here. And with VRV4X, we'll be seeing some improvements in the controls logic of VRT. And the VRT is basically now coming with this additional learning function, and now it can learn how the building laws are changing and how it can adjust the system operation by learning it. So we will be looking at that as well. From the commissioning and servicing standpoint, we are adding this new service window, as you can see over here on the top left side on the upper panel. That will be standard in VRV4X chassis. So now you don't have to take out this whole front panel to have access to your 7-segmented digital display. Also, this is turning into a multifunctional display. So which means that you will not be only able to make field setting changes there, and now we will be giving you a chance to use that 7-segmented digital display, look at it, and read the refrigerant temperatures, refrigerant pressures, some of the main system operation status parameters from there. And instead of maybe connecting your service checker, or even in most cases you might want to use gauges and whatnot, read those temperatures and pressures from there. And now you will be able to utilize this new multifunctional display there. Piping capability still stays the same as VRV4. There's not much changing. There's still a lot of flexibility there with 3,280 feet of total piping. From electrical standpoint, for easier replacements with VRV4 units, your new NCA and MOT levels will be pretty similar to existing models. So if you're planning to switch from VRV4 to VRV4X, that will be an easier change for you. From indoor unit and branch selector box compatibility standpoint, pretty much what we have been selling in this in North American market from indoor unit standpoint, they will be all compatible with VRV4X, so no problems there. And for branch selector boxes, you'll be still able to connect the existing T-Series models to 4X. Okay, let's look at the gas furnace heating option a little bit more and see how we can leverage this in our applications. So if you are familiar with VRV Life and what it can bring to marketplace, it will be much easier. It will be much easier for you guys to understand this. So basically, with this new feature, you have the option to do a dual fuel operation, which means you can choose either gas furnace heating or heat pump heating with your VRV4X models. And this will allow you to get into applications such as multi-family, like high-end condo type of buildings that already has gas infrastructure. So this could be both new construction, or it could be a refurbishment project as well. You will be able to use VRV4X there. It also gives you the ability to go into the small commercial buildings, like like an office space you see over here. In such buildings, the people historically use commercial split system with gas heat options in most cases. And when you look at the these new small office buildings, you will notice that they're more modern looking, and in most cases they don't really provide enough roof space from architectural standpoint, and it brings a lot of challenges when it comes to installing your air conditioning systems there on the rooftop. And with 4X, you will be able to get into those applications and bring that gas furnace heating option, and you will be providing more flexibility from design standpoint there as well. Or another application that you might want to look at is, especially in like rural areas, there will be some opportunities such as school buildings where you can still push this gas furnace connectivity, because in some cases in those applications, people kind of tend to stay away from more complex systems, more centralized system approach, and they kind of want to go with more basic kind of split unit gas heat configurations. So with 4X, you will be able to go into those markets as well, and kind of make things a little bit more simple for those people with gas furnace option. So how you're going to do this will be included in the installation manual. Basically, you will be picking a changeover temperature or a balance point to switch from heat pump heat to gas heat, or vice versa. And I think the default outside temperature will be 35 degrees for this to happen, but in the installation manual, you'll be seeing that you have a lot of different options that you can pick. Basically, what the system does is it looks at the outdoor unit thermistor temperature, whatever that thermistor detects from outside air, it makes this switch happen between gas furnace and heat pump heating. And you can change this balance temperature based on maybe the climate requirements, or maybe you're changing utility rates. Maybe gas is cheaper in your region and you want to use gas heat for heating in most of the time, or maybe you want to still leverage heat pump heating to a certain temperature, maybe like 20s, 30s, and below such temperature, maybe you want to start your gas furnace heat and provide your heating from there. It also gives you an option to provide backup heating. This will be something that you can push, especially in assisted living type of applications. So when you look at this overall, this would be a great fit, especially for refurbishment projects as well, or new projects that we looked at in the previous slide. Commercial applications like offices, maybe small offices. It could be multi-family type of projects, or the rural areas where people want to see more gas heat in applications like schools. So also, this will allow you to reduce your system size in certain cases. Because especially in colder climates, when you size your system based on heating loads, the chances are that you will be oversizing your equipment when it comes to cooling. So if you go with gas furnace heating option, in this case, you'll be able to reduce your system because you'll be sizing your unit based on the cooling loads. That's another thing that you can use and utilize. So we're not saying that heat pump heating is bad. Gas heating is good now. This is just a good opportunity to introduce people to heat pump technology and heating as well, because there are a lot of people out there that are kind of scared of VRV heat pump technology, and some don't really trust this technology when it comes to heating and at low temperatures. But when you bring that gas furnace heat option into equation, they will be seeing how well these heat pump systems are performing in those conditions, and start feeling more comfortable. And that's how we will be starting to see more market penetration with VRV products. One thing I have to highlight here is with VRV Live, you can do mix and match, meaning you can do gas furnace heating and heat pump heating using one single system at the same time. To do that, you need to install a separate refrigerant tank, because when your gas furnace starts running, you need to evacuate the refrigerant sitting in that egg coil and bring it back to this refrigerant tank there. So with VRV4X, mix and match will not be allowed, meaning you will be either running in gas furnace heating mode or heat pump heating mode, because in order to do mix and match and do simultaneous heating with gas and heat pump, you will need a very big refrigerant tank because of the refrigerant amount and size of the systems that you're seeing on the three-phase VRV application. So for now, this will not be allowed. Another thing that we looked at was the phase insulation feature, especially when we did our market research and talked to some of the top building developers. We noticed that, especially in applications like current shells, spec office type of applications, we noticed that one of the biggest challenges that they were facing was the amount of upfront costs that they had to deal with. Because when it comes to VRV, VRF product, you have to get to a certain minimum connection ratio, which is 50% for most of the manufacturers out there, including us. And in those applications, in most cases, you don't know when the tenants, all the tenants will be moving into that building. There are a lot of unknowns, such as the timeline of when this will be happening, what type of indoor units that the customer might want to use in their own zone. And in those applications, typically the designers, the engineers, they feel more comfortable with using chiller or fan coil type of applications, because they believe that it was much easier for them to do ducting, making adjustments on the water infrastructure, moving the fan coils around the building, depending on the tenant move-in date and whatnot. So we looked at this, and we tried to come up with a new approach. So we basically asked ourselves how we could maybe reduce this minimum connection ratio limitation, maybe below 50% at the earlier stage of the project. There are a lot of challenges when you try to do that. You're risking, there's a chance that you might reduce the reliability of the operation with this lower connection ratios, because there will be a lot of refrigerant management issues. You will be facing oil return problems, very likely. And we look at these, especially these two things, and how we could make some improvements in our existing product lineup. And we did some additional testing for proper oil return and refrigerant control, and we came up with these new rules and new pipe sizes for phase insulation feature. So this will be mainly handled in WebExpress in our selection software. Right now, the WebExpress availability for phase insulation will be sometime in June, probably close to mid-June. But in the next few slides, I'll be showing you how this phase insulation feature will work. And if you look at this slide, basically switching from single module to dual module, you will have a certain pipe size configuration, pipe size guidelines, which will be provided in our engineering manuals. So what you're doing is you're starting with the single module over here on the left side. For future condensing unit addition, you're putting that valve there and closing it, and you're installing your first indoor units for your first phase of your project. And if you have another tenant moving into that building in the maybe a year later or whenever it is, you're again leaving that another valve over there, like an isolation valve or something like that, and you're closing that one as well. So you don't have to install all your indoor units at the same time at the initial stage of the project. Then the next tenant starts moving into the building, and which means you need more indoor units for that new tenant. Now it's time to add these new indoor units, and you're opening this valve, and which probably means that you will need more capacity out of your outdoor unit system. So that's when you start adding, that's when you add this additional condensing and then increasing your total system capacity by opening this valve and adding that new outdoor unit. And you're doing this by not changing your main pipeline sizes. So whatever main pipeline sizes that you use on the like in the first phase of the project, you will not need to make any changes there when it comes to the second stage of the project, or whatever depending on how many stages you have in your project. And when you look at this highlighted rows and this table over here, you're seeing different tonnages. For example, if you look at 10-ton single module as your first stage, and your final capacity maybe you're trying to get 20 tons. In this case, you will already know how much capacity you will be needing at the final stage of the project, and you'll be just following these pipe sizes which are highlighted over here in yellow. So instead of putting a 20-ton unit here and adding more indoor units to get to your minimum connection ratio limitation, you'll be installing less indoor units, because the capacity of the outdoor unit that you're installing at the initial stage will be 10 tons instead of 20 tons in this case. And the pipe sizes that you will be installing there will be, instead of inch and 3/8 on the suction line, it will be reduced to inch and 1/8. Or on the high-low pressure gas line, instead of inch and 1/8, you will be installing a 7/8 pipeline. So that's the idea, and that's giving you more flexibility when it comes to design, and that allows you to reduce your initial upfront costs that you're putting at the beginning of the project. So similar idea, switching from dual module configuration, triple module, you're basically following very similar rules with different pipe sizes that will be provided in our manuals as well. You'll be able to do that. And this will be giving you smaller pipe sizes, which means it will lead to a reduction in your pipe installation and labor costs as well, which we'll be seeing in the next few slides. So let's look at how this is done with the existing VRV4, and the next few slides we'll be seeing how you will be doing with 4X, the same project, same capacity, final capacity. So in this example, we're seeing 3 phases. Each phase has about 150 capacity index on the indoor unit side. The problem here is when you go with the existing rules and VRV4, here your final capacity will be forcing you to choose a REYQ 432 model. It's a triple module system. you're still at your first phase of your project, which means you only need 150 capacity index on the indoor unit side. So the problem here is you need to still get to your minimum connection ratio with this system. And we have FXMQ30 model indoor units over here to make things easier for easier calculation. I chose FXMQ30 models for each indoor unit. And to get the minimum connection ratio, you had to install 8 indoor units, even though you only need 150 connection capacity index for your first phase, which is over here. Instead of just installing 5 indoor units, FXMQ30, to get to your minimum connection ratio, you had to install this additional branch selector box and 3 more indoor units. And that's how you started your initial stage of the project with VRV4. And once more tenants start moving in, you will need to add more indoor units and whatnot as well. So over here, the estimating piping material cost is close to $5,000. And your main line, if you look at your main line, you're using the standard pipe sizes that we publish in our manuals. If you look at the suction lines, 1.5/8" diameter pipe size. So about close to $1,600 cost is coming from that 1.5/8" main line. So let's look at how VRV4X is doing this. So again, your final capacity will be the same. So eventually you'll be needing REYQ432 model to provide the full capacity for the whole building. But again, this time you're following a different approach. For first phase of the project, instead of installing 8 indoor units in total, with only 5 indoor units, you're able to get to minimum connection ratio limitation. Because if you look at over here, instead of installing an REYQ432 model, now you're down to a dual module configuration with REYQ288, because that's how much capacity that you need. Actually, you need less capacity out of your system, out of your condensing unit at this point, but the connection ratio, to get the connection ratio, you still need to provide some sort of dual module configuration here. So another thing that you have to look at here is the main pipe sizes. When you look at the main suction line, instead of using 1.5/8" pipe size, you're down to 1.3/8" here in this example. So that's giving you some sort of pipe reduction. And going forward for the next phases of the project, as you can see over here, once the next tenant starts moving into the building, you're still keeping the same main pipe sizes, 1.3/8" you see over here instead of 1.5/8" still. And phase by phase, you're adding new indoor units. And in this case, we are at the second phase of the installation. You're still keeping this valve closed for the addition of the third module for the next phase of the project. And again, for the third phase of the project, your valve is still closed over here on the indoor unit side as well. You open the second valve for the second phase of the project for the additional indoor units. And now your second tenant is in the building and still waiting for the third tenant to move in. And your connection ratio is at this point is about 104%. So now the third tenant is moving in, and finally you're opening this valve and adding this third module. So you're up to REYQ432 now, maybe. And you need more indoor units. You're adding a new set of indoor units here. In this case, it's about 6 FXMQ30 models and new branch selector box. And you open the valve there, and you're good to go with your final stage of the project. So overall, when you look at the difference between VRV4 and VRV4X, in this example, you saw that VRV4 you had to install the largest capacity unit, 36 ton with triple module configuration, and to get to the minimum connection ratio, you had to install about 18 ton of indoor units with 2 branch factory boxes. And your piping cost was higher as well because you were using larger main pipeline sizes in that case. Versus with VRV4X, especially at the initial stages of the project, that's giving you a lot of flexibility and cost reduction because the outdoor unit capacity, now you're down to dual module configuration, 24 ton. The amount of indoor unit capacity that you need to get to 50% connection ratios much less than the original configuration. Instead of installing 18 tons of indoor unit, now you're down to 12 and a half tons. And when you look at the piping configuration, piping sizes, you're seeing a reduction there as well, and about 35% lower piping costs you're seeing over here. So overall, this phase installation feature will be kind of take care of some of the insecurities that you're seeing in this spec office, shell and core type of applications, and it will leverage VRV technology there a little more aggressively with the added design flexibility. So this will be a great opportunity for us to get into those markets from a business owner, developer standpoint. You're putting less money down at the initial stages of the projects because less outdoor unit costs, less indoor unit costs, less piping costs. You are eventually reducing the initial cost initial capital that you have to put down there in the building, because the minimum indoor units that you have to use to get to that 50% connection ratio will be much lower than a typical VRV configuration or the rules that you see with VRV4, existing rules that you see in our manuals. That will be changing pretty soon with 4X. Okay, so let's look at the components and some of the technologies that we will be including in VRV4X. So most of this stuff you guys are already familiar with. Looking at VRV4 models and cold climate VRV Aurora. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, 4X will be some sort of like a blend model, blend generation, combining technologies coming from VRV4 and VRV Aurora. So from heat exchange standpoint, there's nothing changing basically. We're still using 4-sided coil, which is giving you more heat exchange surface for additional more capacity increase and higher efficiencies. Still 7mm coil up to pre-rolls. The inverter board operation, it will be still happening with refrigerant cooled. So basically your inverter board operation is not getting affected by the outside temperature changes, fluctuations, and we're still giving you maximum reliability on that end as well. Service window will be a standard feature with the new 4X. It will make things much easier from commissioning and servicing standpoint. Your hot gas defrost circuits, which allows the bottom side of the heat exchanger to act as a condenser throughout the year, that will be still happening. So whatever heat gain you're getting through that dedicated refrigerant circuit next to the inverter board, that heat will be dumped into that bottom circuit. So it will reduce the complexity that you see in the cold climate application with this additional electric heater kits and whatnot. Another major addition in terms of components is the K-type, our K-type vapor injection scroll compressor that we use in our VRV Aurora and water-cooled T-series models. That is becoming our standard compressor design for 4X heat recovery as well. So let's try to remember how K-type compressor is different than compared to other vapor injection compressors that you see in the marketplace. Daikin is not the only VRV or VRF manufacturers that use vapor injection technology on the compressor side, but it took us a while to come up with a new compressor design, because we didn't really think that the compressor options out there in the marketplace were on par with Daikin standards from energy efficiency and reliability standpoint, and that's why it took us a while for our engineers to develop something new. And keep in mind, the compressors designed and engineered by Daikin, so we're not buying this compressor from a third-party manufacturer. And there are a couple of things that making our compressor design different than others. One of the main things is this special, unique vapor injection hole design. Instead of using a smaller hole like you see over here, it's a 3mm hole that you see in most compressor designs that are available with other manufacturers' products. We're using an ellipsoidal hole. It's much larger compared to this 3mm hole that you see here. And it's giving you more vapor injection, so it's kind of allowing you to achieve higher capacities at low ambient temperature situations. Also, it is helping you from a reliability standpoint as well. That's with the addition of this check valve, especially at low load operations, using that bigger injection hole, your compressor will be running at a more reliable reliable operation level. So if you look at to this next slide, especially like I mentioned at low load type of situations, with scroll compressor you have a fixed scroll and a rotating scroll, an orbiting scroll. So it comes with two pieces. And at low load situations, you will be starting to see more pressure imbalances happening between these two pieces, and this will start causing this gap kind of start widening. And when that happens, typically, if you don't have a back pressure control mechanism like we have on our compressor design, you'll be seeing more refrigerant leakage and less efficiency out of your compressor. So with that check valve you guys saw on the previous slide and the larger vapor injection hole, at low load operation, system can detect the pressure imbalance and inject send some more vapor or refrigerant back to the lower side of the scroll configuration to this side. So when that happens, it kind of pushes that orbiting scroll to the top side, and it's reducing this gap that you will be typically see with other compressor designs. So that's making compressor much more efficient, especially at low load operations. Another improvement on the compressor design, normally with the existing scroll compressor design that we have at VRV4, you have two balancing weights that keeping the operation at a stable level without causing any problems when more vibration starts happening on your compressor side. So when you start bringing vapor injection into equation, now you're starting to see more vibration levels on your system. So to avoid that, we basically kind of changed the design of the compressor and added one more balancing way to keep the unit operation running smoothly without excessive level of vibration, especially when more vapor injection starts happening throughout the operation. That's another thing that kind of makes our compressor different than others. I mean, this might look like a small improvement, but When we talk about reliability, when we say we stand behind our product with 10-year warranty on compressor and parts, small things like this is making a huge difference when it comes to reliability. Vapor injection. I'm not going to spend too much time on the vapor injection and how that happens, but the main components that you will be seeing in vapor injection circuit be your new K-type compressor, obviously, in addition to having suction and discharge ports on the compressor, you're getting this vapor injection hole. Outdoor unit coil, nothing changes there. On the indoor unit side, nothing changes there either. You're bringing this new brace plate heat exchanger and the new metering device, your EV, additional EV, to make that additional vapor injection happening. And you're sending this vapor back to your compressor through that additional injection port. That's basically how you're making this vapor injection happening throughout the operation. Let's look at the servicing and commissioning. The service window, as I mentioned earlier, this will be a new addition. You don't need to take out the whole panel now to have access to this digital indicators you see over here. All you have to do is just take out these 2 screws and you open that window and you're good to go, and you can make your field setting changes there. Also, this 7-segmented display will work as a multifunctional display function. Basically, this is a summary of what you will be able to read through those indicators, the refrigerant temperatures, pressures, outdoor unit EV openings, even the compressor's total operation time will be able to read through here without using your service checker or your gauges that you might want to use to measure the temperatures and pressures and whatnot. Another important addition to make things kind of better from reliability standpoint is the intermittent outdoor fan operation. So in the past, in colder regions where you see more snow, especially when the condensing unit went into the thermal off mode, when the compressor is not running, you would be seeing typically more snow accumulation, ice formation happening on the outdoor unit fan coil. And when the compressors start kicking in and try to kick in the outdoor unit fan operation as well, this would create some additional problems on the outdoor fan operation. It will be consuming more energy to get rid of this ice or snow that's sitting on the top of the condensing unit, or in certain cases that would cause malfunctions on the fan side. So to avoid that problem, now we're adding some additional field settings for this intermittent outdoor fan operation. Basically, to avoid this ice accumulation happening at the top, now if you activate this field setting, your outdoor unit fan will kick in every 5, 15, or 30 minutes during even your compressor is not running during thermal off mode. And this 5, 15, or 30 minutes will be, it will be totally up to you. Whatever setting you want to use, the field setting will be different, and you will go from there. VRT, again, most of you are familiar with VRT technology. We've been using this with our own VRV product since 2014, and the way it works is basically changing the target evaporating and condensing temperatures depending on the operation mode that your unit is running in. And you also have your inverter compressors, and at partial loads, reducing the compressor frequency to a certain extent is really important. But when you look at this example, you're seeing that below 50, 55 RPS levels, actually, if you continue to reduce reduce your compressor speed, you will be seeing less efficiency out of your compressor curve. So what VRT is doing is basically changing this different target evaporating condensing temperatures. When you do that, you're basically changing your compressor curve as well, and the system always tries to stay in this efficiency island, as we call it, the optimal compressor efficiency zone. So it always tries to, in this example, stay above this 50, 55 RPS level, the optimum compressor efficiency points, and it never tries to go down to this lesser efficiency levels below 50 RPS. And for VRT, we're adding a new function with VRV4X. Now it will include this advanced learning function that you will be seeing different field settings for here in this slide. So basically, the logic will be looking at last few cycles or so, and see how quickly the system is going into thermo on or off mode. So based on this, after analyzing the operation, the VRT will kind of adjust itself, and it will try to get to high TE evaporating temperature levels. And still, when it does that, it will still satisfy the loss without any reduction on your capacity. So you can make this adjustment for cooling only or heating only, or you can do this for both cooling and heating as well. So one thing you have to keep in mind, if there's a power shut off during the operation, the learning function will reset itself, and it will start analyzing the cycles, see how fast the VRT can get to load requirements by changing the target refrigerant temperatures. Another set of field settings for VRT, that's for VRT Auto as well. Again, you will be having 3 different settings for your maximum TE target temperature, your upper limit. You have low, medium, and high. The default setting will be medium, 2-92-1. So our recommendation is, if you are sizing your outdoor unit based on heating, especially in cold climate applications, and the chances are your unit will be oversized in cooling mode. And in those scenarios, we recommend choosing high H for your target TE upper limit, so you can get higher efficiency out of your system. Or if you are in a humid climate, and if you think that the existing VRT operation is working just fine, you can leave it at that medium, no need to change anything there. Or if you believe that you need more dehumidification out of your system, you can, instead of using medium level, you can switch to low L 2-92-0, so you can get more dehumidification out of your coil going with that. So that's also possible. So again, this learning function will be reset if you have power shut off. And the second thing is, if there's a large load changes happening throughout the operation, which means you're above or below your 5.4 degrees Fahrenheit above or below from your set point temperature in your zones, then the VRT will start adjusting itself, will reset itself, and start studying the system operation over again. So benefits of technology, with all these new components, especially the addition of K-type compressor, overall you're getting higher heating capacity. Your rated heating capacity is on average will be increased by 2% compared to VRV4, and depending on the tonnage, the change will be happening differently. you can get up to 7% increase in your rated heating capacity. I believe that's 28 or 24 ton model. From efficiency standpoint, on IER, your highest IER will be 27.8. Overall, there is not much change happening on the efficiency side, but we're still way above the minimum ASHRAE and CE requirements on the part load cooling efficiencies. And same goes for COP. The highest COP is 4.3, and still there's some increases happening, especially at low COP ratings with the additional K-type vapor injection compressors, and we're still obviously satisfying the ASHRAE and CE requirements there. From operation range standpoint, again, it still stays the same as VRV4. Your heating, you're limited to -13 degrees Fahrenheit. On the cooling side, the upper limit is 122. And if you want to do technical cooling below 23 degrees Fahrenheit dry bulb temperature, you can go down to -4 with technical cooling function, which is already available with VRV4 heat recovery models. And all the rules still stay the same for technical cooling, things like using single branch selector boxes only, that is still applicable to VRV4X. MCA's MOPs, things to keep in mind for 234 60-volt models. For 6-ton models, the chassis is getting bigger. Now for all tonnages, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14, we'll be using the same tonnage. Same chassis dimensions. So you're seeing some increases in MCAs for 6-ton model, and 12-ton model is also something that you have to keep in mind, that you will be seeing a small amount of increase in MCAs. For 575-volt models, there's not going to be any changes happening for VRV4 models. MOPs, again, 6-ton model, keep in mind the MOP level will be a little bit higher for both 230 and 460-volt models. No changes on 575-volt model. But overall, if you're switching from VRV4 to 4X, if you're using 8, 10, 12, 14-ton models, there's not much that you have to be worried about in terms of the electricals. And keep in mind that for multi-module configuration, 6-ton model will not be used. So it's going to be all 8, 10, 12, 14 models. So multi-module electricals will not be changing compared to VRV4 electricals as well. Hot gas the circuit at the bottom, again, this is something that you guys already familiar with from 4X and Aurora. Still unique to Daikin. It doesn't, so it prevents you from installing a separate baseband here kit. This is an example from a project in Boston. As you can see, there's no ice accumulation happening at the bottom of the heat exchanger circuit. Over here, you see some sort of ice formation happening, but just keep in mind that this is only on the coil guard side. And if you put your hand around the coil guard and the heat exchanger, the left side you see over here, you wouldn't be seeing any ice or snow accumulation there. From capacity lineup standpoint, not much changing. We're still limited to 14 tons on the single module and up to 38 tons with triple module configuration. For 575-volt model, because of this additional CRN requirements on the ref nets, we're limiting our largest capacity up to 35.5 tons. This is your nominal cooling capacity. Okay. I'm going to spend a few minutes on the indoor units as well. We have really wide range of indoor units, and now especially with the introduction of FX-SQ and FX-ZQ this past year, now we're adding more options with VRV4X, which is the gas furnace, and VRV A-coil, our CXDQ model. If you looked at the VRV Life lineup, you will be seeing the same A-coil design. It's all aluminum. It's pretty keeping things lightweight. The addition of EV for VRV system compatibility. Also, you have this additional control board that makes the communication happen between your gas furnace and your VRV communication protocol, which is V3net. So things to keep in mind here on the nomenclatures. When you look at the A-coil nomenclatures, different than your typical VRV indoor unit nomenclature. So the smallest capacity is 2 tons 24 model, and the largest capacity is 60 5-ton model. So if you're saying CXDQ 24, you're referring to a 2-ton model. And the other thing you have to look at is the power supply letters that you see at the end of this model number, SPL. It's different than your typical VRV indoor unit. So you don't need to bring a separate power supply for your CXDQ. It is powered by your gas furnace, actually. So when you order a CXDQ A-coil, the unit comes with a transformer kit. So this transformer kit is attached to the gas furnace, your Daikin gas furnace you're using in combination with your CXDQ there. So gas furnace is powered by single phase 150 volt power, and when you use that transformer, you're bringing that 115 volt and bringing it down to 24 volt, which is powering your CXDQ A-coil there. So other VRV indoor units there's separately power supplied by single phase 208, 230 volt, and no changes there. And you will be still using your nav controller as your remote controller with CXDQ and gas furnace too. You don't need a separate controller for the gas furnace operation, and you will be able to read if there's an error code, if there's an error coming from the gas furnace or CXDQ side using the same nav controller. For major issues, major error codes such as communication problem or power supply problem, there will be a dedicated error code for those. Or if you're saying like minor errors like dirty filter, low air flow rates and things like that, you will be seeing a common error code, which will be a AAA showing up on your nav controller. So our product line schedule, if you look at it, the PMN will be released hopefully this week, sometime this week. It will include all the information about the product launch schedule, including literatures and whatnot. Daikin City will include all the manuals so you can download them to look at the specifications. There will be another product webinar tomorrow. If you want to still jump on that, feel free to do that. We will be also releasing a video explaining the new features of the 4X and the new compressor. This will be coming probably a bit later, not this week, but within the next few weeks that will be becoming available as well. From PO purchase order dates, if you look at if you're working on a VRV4 heat recovery project right now, there are some dates that you have to keep in mind, and all this information will be in the PMN as well. So don't worry about it if you miss this information here. So last buy PO date that need VRV4 heat recovery after July 1st. You have to let us know before June 1st. So that's the last buy PO date for your VRV4 heat recovery if you're planning to order them after July 1st. For 4X heat recovery, sales shipment will start on July 1st. That's the date we're targeting right now. The production already started for 4X heat recovery here, but we need to build up some stock because this product will be replacing our standard VRV4 heat recovery models. So we need a large quantity in terms of stocking to avoid problems. So last build for VRV4 heat recovery will be sometime in August, and we're planning that early October will be, depending on the stock levels, the last shipment for VRV4 heat recovery shipment will be in early October. So overall, the whole idea of developing the next generation three-phase VRV, VRV4X was, to look at the local problems, challenges that we were seeing in the commercial marketplace here in North America, and things like, bringing gas furnace connectability, bringing more flexibility in design rules, pipe sizes for phase insulation type of applications. It's really important, and we're hoping that this new product will be solving a lot of problems here. And we always try to stay different when compared to other VRF manufacturers, and we're always trying to bring something unique to marketplace. And gas furnace heating, dual fuel operation, insulation, phase insulation feature, all these things will be something unique that VRV4X will be bringing to market, and hopefully we'll be growing our business at a much higher phase with our sales partners and with you guys. With that being said, that's all I have for now. If you guys have any questions, we will try to answer some of them and see how that goes. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Kaglar. So just a couple of reminders. Please use your chat box if you have any questions, and we'll be happy to get through some of those in a moment. Also, you will receive a follow-up email in about 2 hours. That email will contain the webinar recording link in case you'd like to refer back to it or share it with someone who might be interested. We sent the recording link to everyone who registers, whether they attend or not, in about 2 hours after each webinar ends. Also, there is a post-webinar survey, so we appreciate your feedback. Go ahead and send us that, and we love that. Now, in regards to questions, let's see here. We have a few questions. Will we be able to get a copy of this slide deck?
Yes. So when the PMN goes out this week, it will include a launch package link. So you'll be able to download the manuals and a copy of this presentation. It will be also available in Daikin City Library.
Awesome. Next question is, can the indoor unit utilize both heat pump and gas furnace?
So gas furnace, so the combination for gas heating will be our CXTQ A-coil, VRV A-coil, and your Daikin gas furnaces. So other VRV indoor units, so since you're not doing mix and match, when your gas furnace starts running, the refrigerant sitting on your CXTQ will be kind of evacuated and moved to your refrigerant pipings and to your outdoor unit and whatnot. So your gas furnace will start taking over from there.
All right. Our next question is, why not connect an existing gas rooftop with a VRV heat recovery system instead of using multiple gas furnaces?
So there are a few ways. I mean, of course, that's something that you can look at as well. But if you remember, when you look at multi-family type of applications and smaller commercial applications that we talk about at the beginning of the project, bringing that logic there will be much easier for us because we basically utilizing the controls logic that we developed with VRV Life and made some improvements and logic changes there. And with using this rooftop gas heat with VRV, that's a separate discussion, separate development, and we believe that this would be a much easier way for us to tackle the challenges in those vertical markets using the existing technologies that we have here.
All right. Please clarify the either-or gas furnace or heat pump mode. Does this mean the system as a whole or just the individual zone?
So when you try to leverage gas heating option, you'll be connecting all gas furnaces and a CXTQ combination there on the condensing unit, which means if you're running in heat pump mode, heating mode, your gas furnaces will be off. You'll be doing all your heating through your VRV heat pump heating using the CXTQ coils. If you switch to gas heat mode, then your heat pump heating operation will stop and your gas furnace will start running, and you will be only getting gas heating from there.
All right. For the isolation valve, valve 4-phase will be offered by Daikin?
No, it will be field supply.
Can we go from module 1 to modules 3 or 3 modules instead of 1, 2, or 2 to 3?
It's a good question. So when we release the rules and in WebExpress, you will not be able to do that, going from single module to triple module. But case by case, if you have a specific project that you want to go for that, please reach out to us. We can evaluate your project and see how that can happen. And there is some additional complexity for that type of configuration, but that might be possible on a project by project basis.
Okay. Can you provide a graph showing COP and BTU throughout Ramage, spelled RAMNGE?
I didn't get the question. So COP and can you repeat it, please?
Yes. Can you provide a graph showing COP and BTU throughout Ramage?
So we will have the capacity tables included in our manuals. The graph that person wants to see, it's not available right now, but using the capacity tables, you will be able to, graph that if you want. But I don't have it ready with me. If you want to reach out to me, send an email on that later, we can discuss it offline.
All right. How do we model the future connected FCUs and BSs in WebExpress to get the piping sizes correct?
So WebExpress will have a separate tab for phase insulation applications. So it's not going to be available when you release the PMN. So that feature will be included in the software in June, mid-June timeframe. So you will be choosing that phase insulation tab, and you'll be designing the first phase of the project. The unit will and you will be saying, I have two more, I have future stages there as well, waiting to be designed at a later time, and the Express will basically freeze your selection when you're done with the first stage of the design. And at a later date, when you come back and start adding more indoor units, you will be able to go back to that same project and keep working on the same unit. So the system will be able to look at connection ratios and piping sizes automatically, following the rules for phase installation.
Will the Aurora model get the new service window, and if so, when?
For Aurora model, I don't have the latest update, but there's a plan to make that switch for Aurora as well in the future, but I don't have a certain timeline for that at the moment.
How do many compressors in VRV4X module, and what is the impact on the defrost cycle continuous heating?
So each single module will have a single compressor with VRV4X. So it's a larger capacity compressor that we're using with the K-type, and for continuous heating during defrost, we still don't have continuous heating function for a single module unit with 4X, but multi-module configuration will still have continuous heating, similar to what you see with VRV4 and VRV Aurora.
When will we have multiple residential type gas furnace in a mechanical, when we have multiple residential gas type furnaces in a mechanical room, will ASHRAE 15 design become a challenge for commercial applications?
So, of course, like on the gas side, you will still need to satisfy the industry standards and terms. But that's something that you have to take into consideration when you're designing the product with 4X, obviously. But other than that, I don't expect to seeing major problems or challenges besides that.
Okay. Will there be dual compressors on 12-ton chassis and larger, or are we expanding our K-type compressor line?
12-ton model will have a single compressor, so all of our single module systems will come with a single compressor.
Okay. Are we going to see a VRV-X on water cool system?
Not at this point. We launched VRV water cool about a year and a half ago, the new generation that already has the K-type compressor and with all those cool features. There might be a chance to increase the capacity with the single module in the future, which is not expected to happen anytime soon. But other than that, I believe we will be keeping the same lineup for the next 2 to 3 years or so on the water cool side.
Okay. Is the intermittent outdoor fan operation also on Aurora units?
So for the service people, there's a way to make that happen. That's a secret service function, as far as I know. I need to check that with the service team. But with VRV4X, this will be available this will be included in our standard installation manual instructions.
How long is a thermal off intermittent fan cycle?
So how long means, I'm guessing that they're trying to find out when the outdoor unit fan starts running during the thermal off mode, there are a few different settings. It's every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, or every 15 minutes. I think, and every 30 minutes. There are different time intervals that the fan will start kicking and start running. So that will be provided in the installation manual as well.
If at cold temps the heat pump won't keep up, will it continue running and add backup heat?
Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
It's okay. If at cold temps the heat pump won't keep up, will it continue running and add backup heat?
So backup heat logic will be still there, and you can do backup heat with gas furnace as well. And if at certain temperatures you think that your heat pump heating will not be enough to satisfy the loads in your building, then you can change your balance point temperature, and you can get your gas furnace heat running at that particular temperature, so you can switch to gas heat completely from heat pump.
Will there be a webinar in June to show how to select phase systems in WebExpress?
So that's a feedback we received from a few more customers in the past. So the answer is yes. There will be some workshops that application team will be giving on the phase installation, like spec office type of applications. Also, we are planning to, once we start getting closer to launch phase installation feature in WebExpress, we will be planning to host a webinar on that as well.
Okay. Can we have an A coil without the gas furnace?
That needs, so A coil is, keep in mind, A coil is powered by your gas furnace. So you will not be able to use an A coil without the gas furnace combination.
Okay. Furnace option will work with heat recovery VRV 4X systems as well?
Heat recovery operation still only works on during the heat pump operation. So once gas furnace starts running, you will not be seeing a heat recovery.
Okay. Is the VRV 4X only available on the HR models, or will it be available for the HP models?
For now, it will be heat recovery only, but I think coming in September, October, close to the end of the year, we will be launching 4X and heat pump models as well.
When can we start selecting the new systems in WebExpress?
Once PMN goes out, I'm hoping that would happen this week. The WebExpress will be available as well. So you will be able to, so you won't be able to use the phase installation feature there, but gas furnace connection will be available with all the 4X models in the database.
Will the VRV 4X only be available for Aurora series?
The answer is no for now, but because VRV Aurora is a different concept, still providing heating down to low temperatures without gas heating need. That's the whole idea. For the time being, there's no plan of bringing gas furnace connectivity there.
Okay.
With 4X.
Does Daikin support a method for comparing the energy performance of buildings equipped with VRV systems to buildings equipped with other types of systems or equipped with VRF systems from other manufacturers with common energy modeling software such as eQuest and OpenStudio?
There are some projects works going on with the other teams here internally, especially vertical market team and the software team, working on these different apps, which I don't really have an update on that, but please reach out to those teams and see how we can help you guys with if there's something that you guys are planning to work on.
Okay. Are there any existing VRV fan coil units that will not be compatible with these new outdoor units?
No, all the indoor units that we've been selling for VRV outdoor units so far in North America, they will be compatible with 4X. M series, P series, T series indoor units, you can use them with 4X. On the brand selector box, on the brand selector box side, T series brand selector box will be compatible with 4X. For P series VRV 3 generation BS boxes, they will not be able to be used with 4X.
Okay. Can we get a copy of the presentation? Oh, we've answered that one. I'm sorry. Will the new 16-ton systems be 2 8-ton modules?
I need to check. I think that is correct. I can check it after this webinar, but I believe that is correct.
Okay. Do all piping limitations stay the same as in the 130-foot rule change at all?
No, they're still same pipe rules and limitations as VRV4. About 130 to get to 295 feet. There's still upsizing requirements.
Okay. Come July 1st, will VRV4s be officially obsolete?
So we will be still shipping VRV4 heat recoveries until, if you look at the project timeline here, we're still planning to ship VRV4 heat recoveries until October. But again, you have to pay attention to these dates. If you have a VRV4 heat recovery project right now and planning to submit your PO, you have to take into consideration these dates. And after October, once we're done shipping all the VRV4 heat recovery models, the VRV4 heat recovery will be obsolete.
Okay. Written guide specs. Will that be available?
Yes. Yes. Again, launch package, when it goes out, written guide spec will be included there too. And Daikin City will have that as well.
Okay. When will the new units be added to Web Express and Daikin City?
Correct. So once the PMN goes out, Express, literature availability, all those dates will be included there, and we're hoping that Express will be available this week as well. Worst case scenario, early next week, if something happens. If you have a major problem, we see a major problem.
Is the indoor unit model FXTQ or CXTQ?
It is FXTQ is a different indoor unit model, which is our multi-position air handling unit. That still stays the same. The new A coil that we're adding to the lineup is CXTQ. So those are two different VRV indoor units.
How soon will a horizontal coil be available?
Horizontal coil for A coil, it is not available right now. There's some product development discussions going on for that one, but at this time, unfortunately, I don't have a timeline for that.
Okay. Let's see here. Are there any manufacturers? Yes.
So I will need to leave my room because there's another meeting coming up here. Let's take a few more questions, and if we have more than that, I can get back to those folks via email later.
All right, sounds
but
good.
Go ahead.
Okay. The next question was, are there any other manufacturers offering gas, heat, and heat pump on VRV or VRF systems?
The answer is no. With single-phase VRF systems, Daikin was the first company that does that with VRV Life, and still Daikin is the only manufacturer that has this capability with gas furnace heating. So we're bringing that option to a three-phase commercial VRV lineup as well, which is still unique to Daikin.
All right. We still have a few questions. I don't know if you want to end it now, and then we can. You can definitely email these people later.
Yes, let's do that. I will need to leave this room, unfortunately.
All right. Well, do you have any closing words, Kaglar?
Again, thanks a lot for your time. Hopefully this was useful for you guys, and this is this introduction to the product. We will be, doing more product launch training activities. There will be some application trainings once we start getting closer to WebEx press release with phase installation, and hopefully you will be getting more information there and feel more comfortable about using the new features. Other than that, thanks for your time.
All right. Thank you to everyone who joined us today, whether you're here live or listening to the recorded version. If we can assist you further, you can always reach out to us to daikinwebinars@daikincomfort.com. And thanks again for attending. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Square feet of operation space dedicated to HVAC manufacturing.